Three decisions that I felt like Ryan Day that changed the game for Ohio State. Number one, the screenplay at the end of the first half. For Ryan Day, not just to say, like, there's 30 seconds left, for him not just to say, yeah, we'll take the knee here, we'll go into halftime. It was the perfect play because it was sure enough that if it happened, if it was a small gain, they'd still be able to get the timeout. But it was also something that they hadn't called yet, so the defense wasn't expected. They were running at Howard so much that they weren't even prepared for that. And then you had blocking down the field with the offensive. All three offensive linemen were out in front of TreVeyon Henderson. It was just, it was the perfect play call. I know Chip Kelly's the one calling plays, but I have to believe that Ryan Day was involved in that somehow. So it was, to me, it was the perfect play call. To me, it was the perfect time to call the play, and it was the perfect player to take the ball 75 yards. So yeah, I think it was just an outstanding decision from Ryan Day. And then the other one that I have, number two, is that it felt like Ryan Day was willing to use Jeremiah Smith as a decoy. Like it was evident early in that game they weren't going to allow Jeremiah Smith to get down the field and beat them. They threw the one ball to Jeremiah Smith where he was open, but he was going to get hit right after he caught that ball if he caught it. So he was open enough to catch it, but he wasn't able to catch it. So he was open-ish, and then you try to force the ball to him on that drive, that first drive going into or coming out of the first half, the first drive of the second half. They try to force it to him. It gets intercepted. I felt like the biggest thing was for Ryan Day after that moment to say, you know what, we're okay with just using Jeremiah Smith as a decoy. It's okay for us to just use him in that way, and say, you know what, we have other guys on this team that can win the game for us. To me, that was the biggest thing. Or not the biggest thing. That was one of the biggest decisions he made in this game to do that. So I love that decision from him. I wouldn't be surprised if coming out of it later on, like somebody, like a photographer or somebody on the sidelines, and they say like, yeah, after that interception, I walked by and Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Day went to Will Howard and was like, it's okay, you don't have to throw it to me. Like, let me just be the decoy or something like that. Because Will Howard didn't throw it to him the rest of the game. He only had 3 targets in that one. So, Terry says, into the half, wouldn't you credit that to Chip Kelly? I mean, the play call, sure. I'm just saying, like, Ryan Day is very involved with the play calling and stuff, even though he's not the one actually calling plays. So, as far as I'm concerned, like, I have to feel like Ryan Day was probably a part of that decision making there. If nothing else, he was a part of the decision making to say, yeah, let's go and try to get a touchdown here. That he wasn't willing to just sit on it and say, let's go into the half 7-7. We'll be okay going into the half 7-7. No, he's willing to be aggressive enough to not just kneel the ball or run the ball up the middle or something like that. He was willing to go for a screenplay. So huge for them. Huge for them. John Jacobs says 3 Ryan Day decisions: only recruit 5-star athletes, spend $20 million on NIL. There is no third decision. Well, there were 2 teams that actually spent more than $20 million on their teams this year, and that was Texas and Oregon. On3 put that out there. Texas and Oregon both spent over, I think Texas spent $22 million and Oregon spent $23 million. Ohio State was still able to beat both those teams. So, Ohio State gets a lot of the $20 million talk, and that's fine. I get it. But they were still able to beat the teams that went for more. And it wasn't all just five stars. I mean, pretty much everybody on that offensive line for Ohio State is a 3-star recruit. Donovan Jackson was a 5-star. I'll give you that. Quinshon Judkins was a 3-star recruit. Will Howard was a 3-star recruit. Trying to think of other offensive players. All the wide receivers are 5 stars, including G. Scott. He was originally a 5-star wide receiver, but so yeah, I get what you're saying, John. A lot of 5 stars, but still, it says USC spent $20.1 million. I don't know if I've seen that one, but if that's true, that'd be pretty funny. So, yeah. The last one I'll get to is the unwavering confidence I felt like Ryan Day had. I felt like Ryan Day in previous games when things would stop going his way, uh, particularly when Texas got the touchdown, got the touchdown drive and tied it at 14. Particularly in those situations, I feel like the camera has panned over to Ryan Day a number of times, and he's been like, kind of sitting there nervous, like maybe his hand in his mouth, or maybe like, looking at his play sheet with kind of like a scared look in his eye. I never saw that when the camera panned to Ryan Day. Maybe it just didn't pan to him at the right time, but it felt like in this game, Ryan Day never once didn't have the confidence that his team would win. The camera panning today after the TreVeyon Henderson run, and he's running up the field and he's doing like the finger guns and everything. And then the camera panning today, obviously, he felt like he was going to win after the Jack Sawyer fumble recovery and run there for the touchdown. But even in the hard stuff too, like when Cody Simon went down and got injured, I felt like at that point he. I felt like at that point, that was kind of where you saw Ryan Day was still confident in his team. So he walks up to Cody Simon. All he says, "You good?" Cody Simon says, "Yeah, I'm good." And then he just walks away because he knew that no matter what happened, they were going to win that game. So I don't know if that's so much a decision, but just to have that confidence of Ryan Day, because I don't think Ryan Day's always had that confidence in himself and confidence in the team of like, no matter what happens here, we're going to win the game. And I felt like he did. He did have that confidence in this one. And when the coach has that confidence, I think that bleeds over to the players. The players have the confidence. So for me, just absolutely huge for Ryan Day. So Montana is keeping score. He says Ohio State 28, ACC refs 14, Texas 0. I honestly didn't think the referees were all that bad. They were pretty ticky-tack with Ohio State, and there was definitely, holding again at this point. We're all used to it. But yeah, there was definitely some refereeing in this one. So Brian says Day has coached a lot of big games. He has experience to lead this team under pressure. It feels like he does now. Brian, you're right. And I haven't always felt like that. He's had that. And I didn't really get a great glimpse of that against Oregon and Tennessee because they got up to such a big lead early. But in this one, going down to the fourth quarter, the chance for Texas to tie at the goal line, still looked like Ryan Day was confident. Still looked like he didn't waver. So, yeah. So, Terry says, I'm sure Woody Hayes was different in his first years than later years. Yep. You're always growing, right? You're always trying to get better as a coach. You're always growing.